Mic check, 1 2 3 4. Mic check, 1 2 3 4. Hello, hello, welcome back, Atlan. Happy New Year's to you. In fact, Happy New Year's to everyone watching right now. This is the first, damn stream of the new year. In fact, the first stream of the new year. So, I hope you all had an amazing new year and holidays leading up to that. You just take my camera cap off. Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Damn Stream. My name is Mac. I am the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. If you're not familiar, Dungeon Alchemist is what you see in front of you. An amazing map-making tool that allows you to build maps in 3D and then export them in top-down for your favorite tabletop gaming, setting, in a fantasy setting, I guess. So if you play D&D, Pathfinder, and the like, you can make maps and export them for print, for virtual tabletop, or TV tabletop. I know many of you know that, but that's just for the new faces here today. And anyone that is new, I'd like to just again welcome you. Let you know throughout the stream if you have any questions. These streams are hosted in AMA format, which means ask me anything. So if you have any questions about Dungeon Alchemist, how to use it, if you need any information about it, our upcoming update or anything like that, just let me know, and I will do my best to accommodate during the stream. Swifty, how you doing? Welcome back. Happy New Year to you. Sorry, I got a bit of a sore throat, so I was a little sick over the holiday and leading into the new year. Ate something that didn't sit well with me. So, that whole thing. Ate a lot of holiday food and something just didn't go well. Anyway, enough of that. Welcome back, one and all, for the first stream of the new year. I hope you had an amazing new year if you were doing anything. Oh, you know what? I'm feeling much better. I only have like a residual sore throat. From the whole mess, so it's kind of still affected me, but overall, I feel much better. So thank you for asking. I had a very fun new year leading up until when I got sick the day after. So been having a lot of fun, actually, and feeling like such a grown-up lately. I always wanted to get a security, camera set up for my house, but I never, found one that I liked, that I felt was, a good quality and had, everything I wanted. And I was able to find one that, kind of met a lot of the check marks, or the boxes I was looking for, and I set them up, New Year's Eve, which was awesome, or, in the day leading up to it, and was really impressed with them so far, and they've been really helpful so far. We have to deal with a lot of porch piracy, in our neighborhood. People steal a lot of packages. I'm pretty sure it's just a group of kids stealing them and then, throwing away anything they don't want, but I can't really prove it. I've seen it a few times, but never really had camera footage. So I'm hoping, in the future I can prevent people stealing stuff from me or, figure out who's doing it, and get to the bottom of it. Ultimately, though, enough about my personal life. I hope you all had an amazing new year. If you had any game sessions going into this last week, your holidays and new year, Love to hear about it. I know that it's very hard to get a holiday session together, so sometimes it does not happen. And if you didn't, let's talk about the session prep you're doing for your first session of the new year. What kind of maps are you making? What kind of encounters are you planning? What kind of shenanigans do you have prepped for your players? Hey, Disturbed Rick, how are you? I am wonderful. Thank you for asking. Found this map on the workshop this morning, downloaded it, and it is something else. I just gotta say that. It's quite massive for starters. We got 125 by 100. Hey, Ricky, how you doing? So we got Ricky and Disturbed Rick, double Ricks in here. Shadow. That's because my other chair is broadcasting. Soul Knocked, awesome. Welcome to the stream. Welcome. That is so great to hear. I'm happy to hear it, and I'm glad the Dungeon Alchemist is working well for you. Are your players enjoying it as well, or are you mainly just enjoying the benefits of being able to make quick, amazingly beautiful maps? My first session of the new year is coming up pretty soon as a player. Uh, and I'm very excited for that. That's on the 12th. So it's a continuation of a one-shot that we had so much fun last month that everyone wanted to keep playing. So fingers crossed this keeps going. Anyway, very hyped for that. Disturbed Rick says, I'm working on a one-shot for tomorrow. One of the boys missed the New Year's brunch. We'll do a little session instead. Well, I am excited that you're getting together and doing something. Hanging out with the crew. Having some fun. Oh, I bet, Soul Knocked. Okay, raise of hands. How many here have made use of the maps on the workshop? Like, how many of here have at least looked and downloaded at least one map on the work? Let's just say that. The broad net there. I would like to point out now there's over 10,500 maps available on the Steam Workshop. This is this massive repository of maps and 3D models is accessible to anyone who owns a full copy of Dungeon Alchemist. So if you purchased a copy, you got it during our Kickstarter, or purchased it in early access after, you get access to these maps. Our community of prolific cartographers have been sharing maps for over 2 years now, and it's built up to this massive, just bank of maps. There's some that fit like, hold on. There's like themes from major books. So here's Lost Mines of Phandelver. Like, I just typed LMOP and got a bunch of maps. I could also probably type Phandelver, but people have shared maps from most major, modules and books. Additionally, people just share a lot of their custom maps that they enjoyed. Hey, thank you for this. I appreciate it. That they enjoy and wanted to give to the community. A lot of maps have been shared through the Dam challenges over the last year and a half. Anyway, tons and tons of amazing maps that save you plenty of time in your map making sessions. You can easily find one here that'll likely work for your needs. Buy now, Shlomo. Honestly, I would assume most people in our community are creators. A lot of people are cartographers, but many haven't shared a map on the workshop. Either they just, don't feel confident to, or don't know how, or didn't know you could. I guess that falls under don't know how. Slow-mo, did my first game of the new year. Some of the players had not seen the new Dam version of the dungeon. Loved it. Oh, awesome. Well, I encourage you to check out the workshop if you haven't, and you could do that by going to the Steam Workshop tab in Dungeon Alchemist. You don't need to do anything through Steam. You can actually browse it all directly through Dungeon Alchemist. And you can either click Browse Maps or Browse Assets. Click Browse Maps, you can see it loads a bunch of maps, and you can scroll down and there's pages and pages, hundreds of pages of maps. Yes, you can download these maps and edit them to your needs if needs be. So if you see a map that you're like, oh, this will almost work for what I need, you just need to make some changes, download it, make some adjustments, save it locally, or even re-upload it if you want to. Hey, thank you for the likes from Facebook, John Gladratus and Zeb Kilber. Thank you, thank you. Disturbed Rick, I'd actually need to know your TV size, actually, to be able to do more math. 16 by 9 is great to know the perspective it is, but I need to know the actual, like, dimensions. So the thing about it is, if you know what resolutions you can do on your TV and what size it is, we can usually do a little bit of math to figure it out. I think there's a formula somewhere in our Discord to figure that out. So back to kind of sharing maps, I would encourage anyone here, whether you've made one map or 100, definitely take time every once in a while to share your maps on the workshop. It's a great way to back them up. It's in the cloud now. So if you lose your copy of it, you have a hard copy of it in the cloud somewhere you can download. You can share it with the community to grow this repository and more people get use of it. More than likely, someone will find it and make use of it. Additionally, sharing your work, maybe you come up with a new idea that no one's done before in a map, and you've, kind of revolutionized map making in our community for that reason. A lot of times people will upload new ideas and share them, and people can go in, dissect it, reverse engineer the map, and learn from it. It's a community, sharing and learning tool more than anything. But yeah, I mean, as it's grown to over 10,000 maps, it's insane how much value it's added to Dungeon Alchemist as a whole, because you could just sit here, and find tons and tons of beautiful maps. I'm assuming, like, it can do 1080p? Does it do 4K resolutions? So anyway, I encourage you all to check out the Steam Workshop tab. Hey, Happy New Year to you, Swedish Cook. In fact, Happy New Year to everyone that's wandered in, since I wished everyone a Happy New Year earlier. Additionally, you can share 3D models. There's over 7,500 3D models and counting. It's growing by the day. Some are fantasy themed, some are sci-fi and cyberpunk themed, modern. There's tokens shared on here, well over 500 tokens now between all the categories. I think there's like close to 700 or 800 tokens now. And there's all sorts of different themes there. Simple, fantasy, sci-fi, cyberpunk, etc. Okay, so let's see here. Let me figure this out, if I remember correctly. I have a conversation with Remy about this. Okay. So, let's see here. If it's a 40-inch television, you're between 38 and 48 or 40 inches wide, right? Hold on. No, wait. 30. Okay, never mind. So if it's a 40-inch television, it would be roughly 33 inches wide and, roughly 23 inches tall if it's a widescreen television, 16 by 9, right? So putting that into perspective, let's see here, doing some quick math. 33 by 23 is a rough, and you could measure your inside of your bezel with like a tape measure to get better idea of the exact size that you'll fit there. And then you're going to want to basically, when you look at a map in Dungeon Alchemist, like a new map, each of these squares technically are based on the pixels you export it as, right? So whatever you export as is the resolution of the amount of squares. So let's say this map is being exported as, 72 DPI. That means 72 by 72 dots per inch, right? Technically, internally, each of these squares are they're a 5 foot by 5 foot measurement, but they're a 1 inch square, but they also can vary in pixel depth too. So 72, 150, or 300 by 300. So basically, several things to factor in here. The size of the map, okay, and then the export resolution here can help. But looking at the size of your TV, if each of these are, a roughly an inch square, if that's what you're going for or trying to accommodate, your map would probably be around 33 by 23 is a good estimate to try with. Try there first, see how well it fits to your TV. Just a simple export without borders. Like a no border export will be as close to the measurement size, as you're going for. Now, keep in mind, this is going to be a little bit of trial and error, and that means, and if you do this to this one size, that means you really only are making maps one size if you're going for this. In my experience, trying to match up and get squares to a certain size and getting everything to match is a little tricky. If you go this method, you can find some success after some trial and error. But what I would recommend is, rather than doing this, is to feed the maps through a VTT to the TV tabletop. So through some VTT software like Foundry or Roll20 or even above VTT is a free one. And those can still be used for local play, and you can put tokens on top of the screen still and do all your normal stuff. But then the map has a grid on it instead of using DA's grid, and it's a little bit more fixed in size, and typically you can scale in and out and have a little bit more control. Okay, so if any of you are ever interested in sharing a map on Steam Workshop, all you do is open the map, make sure it's done, you've done all the work on it, and then you click Publish Map under the Steam Workshop tab. And when you do that, it will prompt you to take a screenshot somewhere in the map. You can go around with the camera and get a nice shot to kind of portray your map style, right? You can give it a title, and you want to give it a good title that has spaces in between the words. If it's a file name, it's going to be hard for people to search it. If this was Babel Fort in Desert, all one word, it's going to be almost impossible to search because the Steam search won't know that as a word. You want to set it to public if you're going to share it with, the whole community. Friends, if only your Steam friends. And private, if it's just for your personal backups. Okay? And then give it a description. The more descriptive it is, the more searchable terms it will have. So if you give it a good, several paragraph description or more, put your username at the bottom somewhere created by, not only will your name be a searchable term, but everything in the description will be a searchable term. So you can maybe even reference past maps or, go through a detailed descriptive readout with a primer for your map so anyone knows how to use it for their sessions. Just give them a little bit of info. You know what I mean? Okay. And by the way, I'm just guesstimating from a chart I have. So if for some reason that isn't accurate, based on what I said, remember it is a chart, reference chart, that is kind of just a rough guesstimate based on the size of a 40-inch television. It's still best to measure inside the bezel of your screen, corner to corner top, corner to corner bottom, to top to bottom, and then corner to corner left to right. Write those measurements down, and then you make a map, that's roughly that many squares by that many squares. Okay, getting back to this map here, it is something else. There's quite a bit to it. I was just enamored by this little village outside of the fort. quite a bit going on, like the little thatch huts and stuff, little canal, some looks like sort of farm, hay farm, alfalfa farm or something. Additionally, this massive fort up here, which has some sort of big well, and I wasn't 100% sure of everything in here, but it's got a mood, let's just say that. And there's some traversable areas underneath. So we'll definitely have to put a token in here and check it out. Got cranes to lift stuff up onto the upper walls, and then areas below. And then it looks like the cranes are part of a system that also are accessible to the sea, so they can bring in goods through ships and lift them up here through this like underwater canal system. Hey Eastern Shore, how you doing? Welcome, welcome. If it's been a long time since you last opened Dungeon Alchemist, there's been a lot of changes, both to the app and to the amount of contributions to the workshop. We've done several updates in the last, year and a half. Minor incremental patches, hot fixes, and major updates. Our last major update was magic, I believe. Our next update is basically slated for Q1 of this year, so sometime in the next 3 months is the hope. And it's called Fun with Objects, and that update will be including multi-level, and by that I mean multi-level will no longer require lots of by hand delicate stacking. It will be something that you can do with the room generation. So it'll be much more streamlined. In fact, I have some clips of that if anyone would like to see. Hey, Lozio, glad to hear it. Thank you for the kind words. So Lozio on Twitch says, thank you for the great software, guys. I'm at my first experience as a DM, and it's helping me a lot. Hey, Rev. Oh man, it's changed a lot since launch. So yeah, if you have a copy on Steam, definitely update it and check it out. There's a lot of changes, and since you last looked at it, and just some new big changes on the horizon. So this video I just showed you is essentially a clip showcasing how quick and simple it is to do multi-level. Unfortunately, it was recorded on my boss's monitor, which is a massive 8K ultra-wide monitor, and some of the context is missing. So I'm going to give you some info. In the next corner, or in the next update, in this corner where you normally have your camera buttons and stuff like these, there'll be a new UI piece right here that shows you which level you're currently building on. It'll say 0 for default, 1 or -1 if you're underground, 1 if you're up above, And there's up and down arrows on it that you can click, or you can use plus and minus keys to jump between those levels. Yeah, okay, so my copy is pretty solid, and I've been experimenting with building multi-levels. I'm going to start recording some clips that are just simple teasers, nothing too in-depth, just kind of showcasing basic stuff like this, but it'll be more involved because it'll have the whole screen's UI. That's one thing. So now that the new year's, kind of here, and we're closer to that, that finish line. Yes, Ricky, you'll be able to do that. When you're building, are you going to be able to say this is a room or this is roofing? Yes. I mean, as you can tell here, there's a balconies, levels, and you can easily flip on the roof or turn it off. There's a toggle under the room area that allows you to, under this tab, you could flip the roof on and off. In fact, there's a whole bunch of roofs to choose between. At first, there's not going to be a ton like of options because it's the first iteration, but it'll get better over time. As far as I know, there will be at least 16 roof types to start. I don't know if there will be more or not. But when the dev team gets back from their break, I can ask. In fact, I'm really like the only person that's working. I guess a couple people are back. But as you can see here, whips up an artificer workshop first floor, rounded rooms. You know, on the bottom, stamps it up. Thinks, hey, this would be cool to have a little balcony and a diagonal cut here. So we have an area where we could have a balcony here. And, you know, second floor. As you can see, this top floor is still open and exposed. You can see inside. But if you flip on the roof, then you can close it. I missed y'all. We didn't have office hour stream this Wednesday, and I mean the last stream we had was before the new year on Mapmaker Monday, so it's been a few days. Glad to be back. Hope y'all had an amazing new year. You know, whether you were just relaxing or went out or partied or hung out with close family and friends, whatever you did. No, I hope you enjoyed yourself and were safe, stayed safe overall. By the way, for any new members watching right now, Dungeon Alchemist has a free demo on Steam, so if you don't own a copy and you're wanting to try it out, see what it's like, you can download the demo on Steam for free. It's a modest download, only like 6.7 gigs last I checked, so it's not too big. And that allows you to play around in the forest biome and build a tavern. It's only a small slice of what DA can do overall, and it's a limited set of objects and stuff like that. But it is a great way to test drive it on your computer to see how it runs before you invest. Before you invest in it. I'm so sorry to hear that. Your health particularly, or someone in your family? I'm sorry either way, but like, I mean, got me worried about you, brother. Oh, we just got a follow. Funny name. Absolutely hilarious name. So thank you for the follow on Twitch. Ticking Time Bomb, but it's like THYME, like, you know, like the herb. Love it. That's clever. So thank you for the follow. Isn't it always the way, like, things happen in, like, threes, right? Here, let me open another clip, and we'll take a look at another quick clip or two. Or, actually, yeah, this is the one. Here it is. Hey, BB. I didn't know you watched on YouTube, too. You're all over. You're everywhere. BB Worldwide. Okay, Lozio asks, I was wondering, is it possible to have some kind of fog of war at the view and the view... Okay, fog of war and the view based on the position of miniature or something. So Lozio, can you tell me about your game session really quick before we move forward? I want to learn more about your game and how you play. Are you playing in person? Are you playing online? Are you printing maps? Are you putting them on a TV tabletop? The more I know about your game, the more I can help. Um, but I will say this: Dungeon Alchemist doesn't have Fog of War per se. It's not built into it. There are ways to simulate it or cover up parts of the map with tools built into it. And at some point down the road, I'd say after we leave early access and have delivered on all our stretch goals, the remaining 5 stretch goals, we will be offering extended like VTT light features or virtual tabletop features that are like things like Fog of War has been mentioned by our dev team, dice rolling, stuff like that. Now, basically, that is quite a ways down the road, as Dungeon Alchemist is first and foremost a map making tool and an immersion utility. What it's used for is to make a map that you then export to your medium of choice, and then that medium would possibly support Fog of War. So here's the thing. So a lot of people play online and they'll use Discord for like voice and text chat, but they'll use what's called a virtual tabletop. And it's exactly like what it sounds. It's a digital tabletop where you can host your gameplay, put in your Dungeon Alchemist maps, give your players tokens and character sheets and all their data in a digital space where they can play online and move around their tokens digitally. So that is I think, a missing piece of the puzzle you may want to consider, as Dungeon Alchemist really isn't meant to host and facilitate gameplay. Though despite our best efforts, many in our community still do that and run games entirely using Dungeon Alchemist. At the moment, it lacks a few critical things to make it, what you would call a virtual tabletop. It can facilitate some TV tabletop play if you're playing in person. You have a grid and you can hide the UI and stuff like that. But playing online is a little bit trickier. So Foundry is a great example. Honestly, a lot of people in our community use Foundry. It's a solid option, but yeah, you do have that barrier of the $50 entry. That being said, it is a lifetime license. I'm not a salesman for them. There are several options. You have Foundry, Fantasy Grounds, Roll20, Above VTT is a great option because it's free 99. It's a plugin that works in your browser, works in Chrome, works in Firefox, etc. And your players just install that extension, and it works with D&D Beyond. So if they can make their character sheets on D&D Beyond, and it links to the extension, and you can use DA maps all within it. So that is a great option if you're looking for something that's free but can host your online game. Owlbear is another great free option, though we don't offer direct export support. Our maps work really well, both like standard images, even video, and they have an extension on their little market of modules called Smoke Inspector, and that allows you to import Foundry maps into from Dungeon Alchemist to Owlbear, and works great, and it includes all the walls, windows, doors, etc. Hey, you know what, Pricel? I know exactly what your problem is. Oh, Lozio, I'm so sorry. Definitely try those free options. Owlbear or Above VTT. Give them a shot. So, Pricel Kirsch, the issue you're running into, and let me read this out for everyone, okay? I often have the problem with exporting to Foundry VTT because it says that the file will be too big for Foundry, but since I'm using the server hoster, I can upload these big maps. Okay, so you need to understand a couple of things going into this. Virtual tabletops are kind of in their infancy when it comes to what they can do. They're getting better all the time, and I think the pandemic really spurred on a huge arms war with map making companies and virtual tabletops where there's all this amazing new technology available. Okay, but the thing about virtual tabletops is they have limitations. Foundry, Fantasy Grounds, etc. They have file limit sizes. okay, that Foundry can't surpass. They have resolution sizes that they can't surpass, etc. And then on the back end, you're hosting these maps. If they're massive in size, your players have to load them. What if they have like a potato hamster wheel internet type situation where maybe they're throttled or have limited data or their computer isn't that great? You need to factor in every ounce of your production from end to end and find the weakest links in your chain and, upgrade it to fix that. The big way to solve this problem, the biggest way to solve this problem is to export at a lower DPI. I can already tell just by what you're saying that you're likely exporting at probably very high quality 300 DPI or high quality DPI. So first and foremost, Foundry recommends 60 to 90 DPI for your maps, for video and for still image maps. So this low quality, despite it saying low, I want you to understand that's like standard VTT quality. These other qualities here are usually meant for prints or in-person TV tabletop play, not for online play. When you shrink the DPI, you shrink the map size, meaning it's much smaller amount of, file size, i.e., megabytes. So in this case, 72 is half the size of 150, but 1/6 the size of 300 DPI, saving you a tremendous amount of file size, allowing your players to load it significantly faster. So, Prizokers, what I would recommend is taking the dip on your export quality in DPI, and you'll notice immediately you'll be able to upload those maps like that, because you're hitting the wall, the ceiling actually, of Foundry's upload limits. So, Lozio, I feel bad. I seem like I didn't answer your question correctly. However, I just noticed we have a celebrity joining us really quickly. 1 second. Look at this. Yeah, it's fine. Oh, will you quit staring at Mom? Look at the camera. Say hi to everyone. Rudy? So, Prizokirsch, I hope that made sense. Is it Prizelkirsch? Prizel? It is he's basically crypto, right? No, he's more like Seymour. No, his name is actually Seymour, but if you've ever watched like Futurama, that might ring a bell. He just had a bath though, so he's kind of wet. He's a soggy doggy, but he smells really good, and I'm excited to snuggle with him later. Death Angel Shadow, thank you for the follow, much appreciated. Oh my goodness. So we got him this for Christmas for a little photo shoot. Didn't fit though. It was too big. The smallest was too big. Cranberry cherry, I love it. Your name is German? Well, guten Abend, mein Freund. I know like the littlest amount of German from like middle school German, high school German. Isn't he a cutie though? Look at this boy. So handsome. Alright, go with Mom so I can get back to work. Too handsome. Death Angel Shadow, perfectly named Chihuahua. Thor, absolutely, like, spot on. So, when I was younger, okay, there was this urban legend that herds of Chihuahuas, wild Chihuahuas, would roam, like, cityscapes and take down, like, larger animals and eat it. Like, take down livestock and stuff. Now, I thought this was hilarious at the time. I didn't think it was real. And then we searched all over the internet. This is like early internet. And we found an article in Arizona, of all places, of wild chihuahuas roaming the streets of this town. Like, taking out people's, like, bigger dogs, or, like, fighting them, attacking them and stuff. Chihuahuas are ruthless. I've noticed that small breed dogs tend to have, like, the most attitude, and they back it up with a lot of, not just bark, but also bite, typically. Got going on up here. Check out, how navigable is this? Fantastic. So this is a lot of work. A lot of work went into this. You can tell by, the diligence of the by hand areas where you can walk in and still navigate these spaces. So I will say this, Prize Locares, try taking a dip to 150. You'll notice more often than not, you won't load, like, the maps will load just fine. Well, at least better. And they'll load faster for your players. And I'll be honest with you, I have never heard a player complain about a 72 DPI or 150 DPI map, compared to a 300 DPI. They don't notice that stuff more often than not. And I can assure you that because I've spent time talking to hundreds of thousands of DMs in our community. I've also played on several tables as a player and a DM with DA maps. It's honestly, it's just one of those things where your players are more focused on kicking butt and like getting loot than they are, say, the amount of dots per inch on a map. But I will tell you this, Foundry does recommend that kind of 60 to 90 DPI, so you're far surpassing their recommendations, which will in turn lead to map loading issues or uploading issues. So that's definitely the root of the cause right there. Foundry is a great tool, but it does have its limits, just like every VTT. So if you can kind of understand those limits and work within them, you're bound to find more success with your map. What's going on, Mondu? For print, you want to do 150 to 300. Those higher DPIs are meant for print or TV tabletops. They're not meant for virtual tabletops. And I wish in the VTT exports we would relabel them to like standard, ultra, and like, whatever. So, and then label them as like, these might be too high for your virtual tabletop. Oh, couch in the middle of the hallway. Well, I guess you didn't get the trademark first because Atlam TM'd it first. He put the TM next to it, which gave him, technically, by US law. Just kidding. I love this little well they have here. I know it's kind of it messes with your head when you look at the export menu and you're like, oh, okay, well, low quality. Why would I want low quality for my players, right? Especially when I could go to high quality or very high quality for free. But it's not for free. That jumps up the file size, which means you're going to hit those walls, those limits within Foundry. Not only resolution limits, but file size limits. So you essentially have to work within their rule set. Okay, so I've spent entirely too much time on this map, but I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I honestly think this is a great desert map, which, to be honest, we don't have too many that are like... I feel like this biome is kind of not as visited. You know what I mean? But overall, I think this is great. They did a great job. Nailed multi-level, very navigable space in first person. Love it. Okay, let's look for another map on the workshop. In fact, if any of you have uploaded a map lately, I would love to hear about it and we could check it out. Let's see here. Personally, I'm wanting to focus IRL play using a projector or TV display. If I could find some other... Oh, you know, isn't that the two biggest bads of all are finding the group of players first, finding the group to play with, right? That's big bad number one, and then scheduling conflicts. That's big bad number two. You got to work around all that, right? Right, Shlomo, that water is a trap. So, Rev, are you saying there's a map up here we could take a look at? It could have been. Take a look at some desert maps. Can I just say thank you to everyone watching and hanging out today? We've got a big crowd of people across all platforms right now. I think somewhere between 50 and 80 people watching total, which I just am so thankful for all the community support, and I appreciate everyone tuning in to learn and check out maps and hang out. You know, I'm just watching this community grow and flourish, and it's amazing to me. Now, keeping that in mind, I do want to let everyone know, if you're watching and you have questions, concerns, feedback, suggestions, anything like that, let me know in chat and I'll do my best to address it. These streams are AMA format, which means ask me anything. As long as it's Dungeon Alchemist related, feel free to let me know and I will do my best to assist. You have a big French-Canadian accent? I would love to hear you talk, my friend. Honestly, first off, I love, how diverse Canada is. It's crazy to me. I guess it's just all the provinces are essentially, basically, holdouts from when they were colonized by various cultures, right? Am I wrong there? So you have, French Canada, Nova Scotia and all that area, right? And then you have Oh, that's a good question, Death Angels. The Death Angels asks, what's the stairs going to look like for multi-level stuff? Let me see if I have a clip showcasing that so I can share it with you. I do. Would you like to see it? Would you like to know more? Oh, this is the wrong clip. I opened the wrong one. 1 second. Where is it? Oh, here it is. I hope, despite my absurdity and ramblings, that y'all learn a little bit of English here while you're here too. You're learning it from an authentic Las Vegas night. Nevadian. I don't think those are real. I heard they have good fishing in Quebec. BB Stalker? Wait a second. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So I met one of my friends years ago. His name's Pascal, and I met him through my personal stream that I used to, stream a lot on my own channel years ago. And he comes in and watches me play some Battlefield, and over the course of a few weeks, is watching me, and he says he's learning how to speak English by watching me because he basically is from Germany and he just moved to the US and he's trying to learn English from native speakers, and he found me entertaining because I would just say weird things like y'all. Because I come from this weird like microcosm culture in the the Southwest US where you speak with like a Hollywood accent, but you also throw in like y'alls and stuff like that. So I don't know. To someone from Germany, it's different to them. Yes, it is. And in the US even, not everyone says it. I would say only a few states say stuff like that, like more exclusively, right? Y'all is the best. Yeah, it's a good way to describe a whole group of people. You worked in North LV? Nice. And you lived back in Vegas, 94, 95? Oh man, that's well before my time here. I've only been here, I guess about a decade now, so a while. But, yeah, it's definitely been on the latter end after that. Nice. How many people have lived in Vegas over the years? It's kind of changed and it's getting heckin' expensive. I'm considering moving. I want to save a bunch of money and, go somewhere kind of in the middle of nowhere. Now that there's like better rural internet choices, I may consider. So here's another preview of the next update, and it shows a feature. There's a texture kind of brush. Stamp is what it's called, the stamp brush, and you'll be able to essentially paint textures on different surfaces. In this case, it could be moss, but it also could be, and there's like tally marks, like in a prison. Stamp tool. So let's see. This one is a great example of how it can be used. So, this igloo is an object placed inside of a house, and then they stamp some snow around it. Normally you could disable the roof on a like a building, and if there's snow outside, it'll come inside, right? But this is cool. You could do little patches of it. I imagine you could do this on the trees and stuff too, so you could have light little swaths of snow. Still, like, maybe it's been melting, so you have a little bit here, a little bit there. So, Rev, tell us about this map. Yeah, LFGs can help. Though I will say, if you're building a group of exclusively online players who've never met each other, definitely have a session 0 where you work out do's and don'ts for the group, i.e., limits, things that people are comfortable with and not comfortable with. Someone could have a fear of spiders, and you don't want to bring up spider mobs in that case. Or maybe someone maybe they are looking to be a murder hobo campaign, but other people are not. You really need to kind of align your group and make sure they're all on the same page, and a session 0 is a brilliant way to make sure you don't invest a whole lot of time with a group that may not have the chemistry to go the distance. But yeah, it's a great idea to get involved with some LFGs. Roll20, you can look for groups. I think there's Discord, amalgamations, Reddit, subreddits, stuff like that. Honestly, like, it's a very good idea to make sure everyone on the table is on the same page. You know, if people have, you know, fears or, you know, phobias of things, or if they're not comfortable with certain themes, it's always great to make sure your table in that regards is on the same page, because it's only going to make headaches down the run, or like down the road, if you don't. Like, I played on a table, we didn't have a session 0, and within like three sessions the whole group fell apart because there was a player in the group who was really just kind of only out for themselves and didn't really illustrate that in the session, you know, like in the time talking to, like, up to it when we were going to be playing and when they were building their character. And then they started doing like these really irrational things that was counter to what the DM was like kind of guiding us to do and suggesting, and kind of putting the whole group at risk. And so we essentially like kind of had an RP moment where we told them they need to get in line with the group, or, you know, they can leave the group. And that was kind of an RP and also out of character moment, and they just decided they could leave. So, I mean, we got rid of a problem player, but at the same time kind of set us back. Honestly, I really would only do IRL people, like games with people I know, like like my friends, you know, people I know in the real world that I've hung out with. It'd be really hard to do an IRL session at my house with people I've never met before. I maybe would do like a primer session with people I haven't met, you know, like at a location that you can host games, you know, something like that. There are like gaming lounges and stuff here in Vegas where you can like host different events, and I'm sure D&D would be something cool to do at a place like that. I like the concept of this, Rev. So it's essentially like a stop between, you know, two vast points in the desert. Cool. I mean, it also could just be a complete mirage, as oases tend to be. Yeah, I kind of saw some of that. Like, this kind of looks like a secret passage here. Kind of figured that much. Lots of intrigue. All right, let's find another map to look at. I do like this, though. Great work, my friend. Like, seriously, I love this little secret passage, hidden areas. Like, adds a bit of intrigue, but also gives the workers kind of a free roam of the place without disturbing people. Great layout, great use of the desert assets in general. Yeah, honestly, this could be great for, like, you're running a desert campaign and you just need a quick, like, rest stop encounter type area where there's a few things to do, and it might extend into 2 or 3 sessions if they, you know, dial into the intrigue of it. Like, if your players are looking for more than there is, you know? Oh, yeah, for sure. It kind of is almost like a clue board, huh? You know, there's actually some clue board maps in the workshop. I think, what was it? Shoot. Random Ladybird put one up on the workshop, I believe. Was who did it. Honestly, I definitely, if I was running a desert campaign, I could see this being very useful. So yeah, take note of this. Oasis Inn. In fact, let's... Atlam, can you get the link for this and share it? Ooh, excuse me. Thank you, sir. So we haven't taken a look at many assets on today's stream. Let's take a look. Let's sort by most recent. So sort by new. Been some really interesting assets uploaded the last few days. So thank you, Swedish Cook and Danger Weasel, for these cool uploads. Michelle as well. So these rusted metal domes, they can make like a cool greenhouse type situation. Neat little option. And then these bronze shields gives you some Bronze Age, options to add to your campaign. Though, I'm often confused when people ask for these things for their D&D campaign when obviously they're strictly separate in fantasy, so you could use pretty much anything in a fantasy setting. You don't need to be tethered to a specific time. I mean, I guess it depends on the, different campaigns. I shouldn't speak too much because my campaign kind of tethered on some very specific assets too. Ooh, this wheel, all these Carousel Circus assets, these are neat. A lot of neat, cool stuff. Oh, that's great. Let's check this out. A completely black skybox. So I'm sure some of you have seen skyboxes on the workshop and you're like, what are these for? DA has a few skyboxes based on the time of day you are, but maybe you want a little bit more diversity than that. Our community has gotten really clever and has been able to share some new skyboxes over the workshop. Let's see what collections here, so we have a little freedom. Okay, let's see here. Let's open. Put this one there. So now the sky is blacked out. This could be good for an interesting pocket dimension map or maybe an astral sea, something like that. In this case, it's not very matching, but it is a good way to give a little bit more immersion for your cinematic first person, or your cinematic or first person shots. A big eyeball. Uh-oh. Skybox has no... Fantastic. That is a big... Okay, so I can Control Z to undo it. I am bigging it too much. No, there's some that the collider scales... The collider scales with it. Hold on. So this one-way skybox, for instance, Asmodeus made this. And there is a collider on it, so if you stop clicking it, you can click it again. You just got to be outside of the map clicking. So I do think that it's possible the creator maybe forgot to add the collider or deleted it. Yeah, Control Z is my only option. I'm not against it. I just think that sometimes people get hung up on what they feel the aesthetic might be or look like. More often than not. I get people coming to me in my DMs all the time asking, hey, how do I build a dwarven, city or a dwarven map? You guys don't have many dwarven assets. And I'm confused by that because, there is actually quite a few distinct things that would work great for a dwarven city. Including, the marble and gold stuff we have and, So I guess it really depends on what your mind's eye of a dwarven city is. Is it based on what you see in The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings? Is it based on, is it based on, that song you heard about dwarves? There's lots of, I think, preconceived notions of what people think an elf city should look like or a dwarf city should look like based on pop culture or historical references or other things. So more often than not, people get tethered to these ideas. And so I'm really in a fantasy setting, I love when things are random and don't really match what we perceive as normal. Technically, Windrose, isn't that somebody else's song first? It's Yogcast. like wrote it and then Windrose like covered it. I am a dwarf and I'm digging a hole. But yeah, Rock and Stone is definitely a deep rock galactic reference. There's all types of dwarfs out there, right? And also, what you grew up reading and how you envision things in your mind might be different than, say, the Hollywood interpretation of it. Honestly, I'm not trying to make an argument or anything over it. I just think sometimes, like, it's really easy to fall down that hole, and it's like, oh, I need all of this stuff from this era, you know, or this map can't be complete. When it's a fantasy setting and you could literally just make it anything and say that's what it is. You are the DM. You are the world maker, the world weaver. That's awesome, Lord Rev. Yeah, I think they've got like a cool kind of like an aesthetic going for like Viking metal, you know, and it leads into dwarfish or kind of, you know, that kind of aesthetic. Honestly, I see merit in both arguments. Like Hieronymo, I do agree with you. Finding the things that match what you're thinking of makes it perfect, right? Whereas sometimes I don't like it's fun to not be tethered to those like constraints of like this is what was available in these times, and it's even the weapons in these games are tied to it. It's like why can't we just have our own like cool and unique weapons too? Like it just seems so funny. I feel bad for martial classes because they're definitely tied to like a lot of historical accuracy and things like that. Okay, so honestly, like I'm down with whatever version anyone heard of it because they're all cool. Like Diggy Diggy Hole is a cool song. My son hates how much I listen to it on repeat. When I'm like in a work grind, I'll put it on repeat and it just plays on repeat while I'm like grinding through hours of work. And he's like, Dad, you know, you listen to that song like all day, but it really just helps me focus when one song plays on repeat instead of a bunch. Oop, we're going to download some assets. While we're doing that, we're going to show some teasers, right? Right? They were all at the same time. Technically, Abraham Lincoln could have sent a telegram to feudal samurai to join the Civil War. Like, and then, yeah, like, oh my goodness. I think I think some of this is caused by, you know, pop culture, like references and all the things we see in the media that gives us these preconceived notions and movies and TV and stuff of how this thing should look. But at the same time, uh, I think, you know, it's kind of mixed with, you know, a little bit of what we perceive it to be, and then what's available to work with, right? I don't know. It's an interesting topic to say the least because you're weaving a fantasy world, but for some reason, some people have to tether it to the real world all too much. Give me some Maiden or Manowar, and I'm happy. Oh my gosh, that would be so cool, BB. A cowboy, a samurai, and a Sherlock all walk into a bar. That's the party. That's it. That's all we need to know. Load faster. So, a few things about levels and stairs and stuff. The stairs, when they generate in rooms or when you add them to rooms, if there's a floor above, it will dynamically cut a hole in the roof or the ceiling to allow that stair to transition to that space. So essentially, you can add a stair to your map and it'll cut a hole to the floor above. I definitely think that's a Hollywood flair thing there, not necessarily, I don't think there's ever a mention in the book of how the dwarves speak, right? Well, then you haven't poisoned the well, so to speak. Like, I love the Lord of the Rings movies much more than I love the Hobbit movies, but don't get me wrong, I do think that they've given a lot of people, like, an idea of what elves and dwarves and orcs and all those things should be like. Don't get me started again. I'll talk about it forever. Newcastle. Ah, gotcha. Is that like okay? What do they say? Newcastle upon Tyne or whatever. Hey, Garrus, happy New Year to you, my friend. Thank you for dropping in. How you been? Yeah, you can add railing, or you could even have no floor entirely to just kind of vault the ceilings up. And pillars will dynamically raise to the next floor if that happens. So gotcha. See, like when I'm mailing stuff internationally, I have to write all that stuff in or it doesn't work. So gotcha. That makes sense. I always wondered. I just assumed it was like, hey, this is the city next to this river, and that's like the naming convention here for everything. This is a teaser for our next update, which is launching in the most likely in the next, 2 to 3 months. So what you're seeing here is essentially just kind of a fun little clip showcasing some of the things you can do in the next update. So I will say that I'm confused on the pronunciation of the River Thames. This seems more like a slang pronunciation. Right? That's why it's so confusing to me. Like, it doesn't read anything like it is. And usually English is so spot on with pronunciation, so it's so counter, like, intuitive. So in my experimentation, I've gotten up to about 15 floors before I crash DA, and I think it's just mostly because they're optimizing the multi-floor tooling and like builds. So it's very possible it could do more. And I had like 7 floors above ground and like 6 to 8 floors below ground. in my tests, and I was like extending off little hallway tendrils below ground, going into like underground areas. No, Connor, this is live. Thank you for the follow. Sorry, I'm watching about 7 chats at once right now. I do not play Fortnite, unfortunately. My son does. That's more in line with his stuff, or at least he used to. When I have a Fortnite story though, if you want to hear it. So, I love my son like a lot. He's my world. And I went to one of the last like E3s. I went to the 2018 E3, pre-COVID and everything. And basically, I walked all over the convention looking at different booths and stuff, and there were several Fortnite booths on the floor. And if you waited in this line and did a Fortnite dance, the meme dances they have in front of a camera, you could get an outfit of one of the characters in the game at the time. I think it's called like Cuddle Team Alpha or whatever. You get like a whole hoodie for it. And my kid definitely loved that like character model in the game and was running with it all the time. So when I saw this, I jumped in line immediately, and I was in line for probably like 4 hours to do this. And they ran out of jackets. I'm not even kidding you. Maybe 5 people after me. So I did like a meme dance on camera and got like a jacket for it. And it was like half of my day at the convention. It was hilarious. That's a good question, Mondu. As far as my testings, it appears to raise when you raise the buildings. There might be a set height above that it maxes out above, but as you raise the floor, it goes up and up and up. You know what I mean? I think it accommodates to it raises the camera as you raise it. Whether there'll be like a limit, I'm assuming there will be like a max limit of the amount of floors you can do. I told Wim y'all will probably try to do like 40, 50 floors, and he laughed, and I was like, no, it'll happen. Only 40 to 50. He was like, oh, we'll probably, make it so it'll work between like 10 to 20-ish. And I'm like, okay, but I'm pretty sure they'll want more. I'm thinking like Endless Citadel stuff. Y'all are crazy. You know what I mean? Any chance of glass floors? So that's a good question, Garrus, and you also asked about pits and stairs. So let me read that. Any chance of glass floors, and how does it work with stairwells and pits? So, a lot of the stairs are actually going bye-bye, in fact. The entire object menu is being retooled. So, the downward stairs will be gone, right? Because they no longer work with these rooms. It'll just be stairs, because technically upstairs and downstairs are the same thing, but these ones make like a pit. Those will be going away. There may still be available to put like outside and have out, pits areas like that, but for the most part, you'll be using strictly one stair menu, and that'll be it. So this will improve how stairs function, because they are a headache to many people in our community and myself, because almost daily someone asks me why the stairs must make a pit and force where they go and stay the same size and can't be resized. Downward stairs are just going the way of the dodo. We call that hot damn, Mondu. Hot damn! So when you play Hot Damn, you get a group of map makers together, and you coordinate to take a map, make portion of it with like a timer. You set rules. It could be you work on it for like an hour or 30 minutes or or you can, work on it for this day and then you pass it on to someone and they work on it that day. Anyway, whatever you do, basically you pass it on to someone else, they add to the map, and it continues and continues and continues. But it's essentially a game of hot potato with map making. Future theme, Tower of Babel. Dang. This map is impressive. So a lot of times people ask us if we're ever going to do, cultural assets like Asian themed assets, stuff like that. And I will just say I highly doubt it. The workshop gives this ability for our community to upload and share assets like this and add them, supplement them into their maps if needs be. But unfortunately, we tend to avoid focusing on cultural assets mainly because there is a potential for, offending someone in a culture, or, misinterpreting how things should be represented and doing it incorrectly. Essentially have to open it up to adding new team members, cultural advisors, just to make sure you tackle it correctly. And also, these cultural settings don't necessarily meld well in a fantasy like D&D world in most cases. So it's not really like a requirement for a fantasy setting. Now, if you want it, there are options like these on the workshop to supplement. And if you download one map like this, like I did, it had 800 megabytes of assets. So you could essentially use all of these right off the bat because they'll be added to your asset collection both here and throughout Dungeon Alchemist, where they have been sorted to. Wherever they've been sorted to, I mean. Oh, it's quite large. 93 by 78. Honestly, like, big maps with like a gig of assets tend to frame out a little bit. Yes, he was a biggin'. He climbed right up to the top of the mast with 90 pounds of rigging. Great, you got me singing Boy Scout songs. Don't do that, Garrus. You did nothing wrong. It was just me. I'm weird like that. Oh, the waterfall. That looks awesome. Okay, let's take a look at this map from, like, this perspective so you can see. So there's one thing my wife hates, and it's when I get stuck on Boy Scout songs. When I get like in a pit of repeating and singing Boy Scout songs. So I grew up in Utah, and the Boy Scouts was a big part of my my youth. And we'd go to like summer camp, and at summer camp you'd have to sing tons of songs all the time because they'd use that as like a method to keep people busy and wear them out. Honestly. So I just kind of would get them stuck in my head from singing them hundreds of times, and they're still stuck in my head to this day. So I'm sure any Boy Scout here probably has a few songs stuck in their head that... Anyway. I appreciate you, Garrus. Are you taking off or something, my friend? How is your new PC really chewing up DA? Are you enjoying it a lot, Mondu? Gosh, this map is pretty cool. They did a really good job. Stereo trees going on over here. The only part of my PC that's kind of lacking at this point is I really need to upgrade my CPU. When I built this PC, I kind of went for a base, more cheaper motherboard and CPU because the majority of the parts were a gift, and I was just trying to put it together as quick as possible with the budget I had on me. And it's got a ton of RAM, it's got a great graphics card, but the CPU and like the motherboard could use like a little oomph. So I'm hoping, in the next year or two I'll upgrade that. But for right now, the 2 PC setup I have going on tends to work rather well with the stream. Oh no! Hey, Garrus, definitely get some food going, man. Glad you're back and doing well. Map is something else. Great. Docs, got all sorts of stuff. So I spent the last 6 months upgrading my life. There's a lot of objects that in my life were degrading and falling apart because I'd had them for years. I'm this kind of person that I'll buy shoes and I wear them until they fall apart, right? And even if they fall apart, I'll try and fix them and wear them some more. I'm very frugal, and because I was raised in a family of 8 kids, so there was hardly ever anything to go around, and everything was hand-me-downs. So, yeah, I kind of have this habit of just trying to get every penny out of stuff I buy, which, in the long run saves me a lot of money and stuff, but at the same time, I'll often, have things that are just limping along because they barely work anymore, and I won't buy a new one out of spite. But yeah, this last year I've tried to do better, and what I've done is for instance, I usually used to buy cheaper shoes that wouldn't last that long, and this year I bought and invested in myself a really nice pair of boots. I wouldn't normally spend this much money on shoes, ever, but they're freaking awesome boots that'll probably last me a lifetime or more. Swedish Cook, really? What, was it an i9? I gotta know. Intel i9 by chance? Gosh, beautiful map. Hey, see you later, Garrus. Oh my goodness. i9s are ticking time bombs, people. I'm telling you this. So, Intel publicly announced this after months and months of pushback from major influencers in the PC tech sphere, and also many consumers who had bought their chips. But there's a whole generation of chips that are faulty and were failing, and essentially the cores are just wearing out, and many of them have i9s, I think i11s, so we're having problems basically, and they're, if you had them for a certain amount of time before they offered the fix, they're more than likely have failed sectors in them. So the graphic card kept crashing. What kind of GPU was it, my friend? Let's talk about that. Gosh, this is a brilliant map. They did a great job on this. Beautiful work. All right. Whew. I think I need to take a quick break. So my stream PC, the one that's running all the stream hardware right now, is old stuff, and it's an i7 from 10 years ago. And it's a GTX 1080 Ti, and it's got liquid cooling. It's a nice little machine. It runs the stream great. The gaming PC where I'm running DA from, that one's an AMD build, but it does have an Intel 4070 Ti as the card. I've got 128 gigabytes of RAM in this bad boy. It's basically, its whole purpose is to run big maps in DA and be able to stream. That's the secondary purpose. I have just one PC dedicated to streaming. The other one's Hey, Rick, no worries. Anyway, I'm going to step away for a quick 5-minute break or so. I'm going to run a quick quick Dungeon Alchemist themed ad. So it won't be an ad for someone else. It'll be a Dungeon Alchemist themed ad, which is actually quite silly and fun. I don't know if any of you are familiar with One for All or Deerstalker Productions. Oh, right, Swedish Cook? Oh my gosh. Everyone's been snatching up GPUs because they're afraid of like all the tariff stuff that's going to happen. Hey, see you later, BB. Thank you for hanging out. Okay, let's run that quick ad, and then I'm going to take a quick break.
You stand before the long, dark road to the fabled realm of Goyak Ta, and before
What do we see?
I don't know, a goblin.
I kill him.
But before she does, I, Gilliam of Firth, demand to know the goblin's name.
Hi, my name is Woblin.
Where do you live there, Woblin?
I don't think that's relevant.
Well, but I, Gilliam of Firth, demand to seek the goblin's abode.
Clever. Find family. Kill entire bloodline. I like it.
Seriously, we're doing this? Okay, well, won't be needing that anymore, will I?
Ever get caught by your players with your pants down? Dungeon Alchemist lets you create wonderful maps for any encounter in seconds.
Oh, Woblin, that's a very impressive cheese collection you've got there.
Yeah, it is quite impressive, yes. But you know what's more impressive? This map I have to the fabled realm of Goyak Ta. Please take it and leave. Close the door behind you.
Mr. Woblin, I cannot help but notice that you have a secret tunnel underneath your cabinet. Care to explain?
Download Dungeon Alchemist, the AI-powered map maker, on Steam today.
Alrighty. So, what did I miss? Let's open up a map. Let's take a look at the winning Dam Challenge from Wilkie Twycross, who I haven't heard from since they've won. Hope they're okay. They submitted, and I haven't seen them post in the Discord, and they haven't responded to my DMs, so we'll see. Yeah, this was the Dam Challenge winner. It was quite an epic build, gonna lie. It's a massive harbor in a frozen tundra. Oh no, I'm glad. I'm hoping you're feeling better, Mondu. Are you on the mend at least? So what exactly is going on with your back, my friend? Did you say earlier? I must have missed it. But what's neat about this map, kind of shifting gears, while Mondu types that out if he's feeling like sharing, there's like a whole village in this ice cave system. Homes, a market, and even a temple. This area is like one of my favorite parts. Oh no, I'm sorry to hear that. I also suffer from chronic back pain, my friend. It is the worst. That is, yeah, that sounds about right. Goodness. I'm not trying to play the comparison game. I'm just more letting you know how I understand. So I had a slip fall a few years ago. My dog urinated on the wood floor and I didn't see it because it like blended in really well. And my shoes were like kind of like flat soled and, well, actually I wasn't wearing shoes. I was barefoot. And I just slipped and like I torqued my back and my leg and I was hurt for months. And I had sciatic problems and back problems. And I was laid up in bed for probably a year because I couldn't afford surgery with my income at the time. This was pre-working for, Dungeon Alchemist. And I basically was bedridden and I was working from my VR headset. I'd wear it and it would link up to my computer remotely and I'd use that to game or like work as the only way I could do stuff. And I was just laying in bed watching movies and TV shows all day and like writing and reading books. And it was awful rehabilitation. And I slowly got better and better and better and better. And now I'm able to do whatever. It's crazy how much I healed, but I still have like chronic back pain from like those spots where it got hurt. Dude, that is awesome that you got a new chair. That should help a lot. I'm hoping it helps you tremendously. But yeah, I'll go through like fits where it'll like be bad for like a week. It's hard to sit some days, and hard to lift things, definitely. I think this is my favorite part of the map. This whole harbor area is just absolutely well done. Clutch work here. Looks like they built a structure along here and then did all this like carve the landscape back with the terrain tool, so it was like really steep and sharp, and then got rid of whatever they built on top of it. Oh, I agree. It was like so bad I couldn't move some days. So I definitely feel that, my friend. I hope you're not having a bad flare up or anything and are, heading towards better wellness. I mean, in a lot of fantasy settings, a harbor is really crucial. You know what I mean? A lot of the main cities in 5e are either along a coast, along the Sword Coast, or on an inlet along a river. In fact, most old cities tended to be along bodies of water, right? Either along a river, along an ocean, or next to a lake. Sometimes a combination. And so it was mainly so they had access to a fresh source of water, right? So in that same regard, I think, having boats and harbors of any degree, whether they're smallish or worn out like this, derelict, massive big ones like these, it's a great idea to consider. Why is that, Mondu? Don't want your players to that would make sense, waiting for the actual updates that accommodate it, so it's a lot easier to do. I definitely think Water Worlds and High Seas in tandem will allow for some crazy island and ports and, other maps. Oh, they have a folding boat. Yeah, that's definitely troublesome, isn't it? Okay, remind me what folding boat is. It's small and it unfolds to like a 20-foot dinghy, right? That can fit 6 people, if I'm correct. I might be completely wrong here. I've never had a folding boat. So oh, Rev, really? Is the player your wife, or is it just another player on the table? I definitely can imagine some people getting into pirate mode or economy mode. So rowboat or keelboat? That's awesome. Tell me more. Gotcha. Are they aware there's actually a swashbuckler build? I like the potion shop here. Oh, goodness. Very aware. Then you should never tell them about the Yardificer. Just a pirate-themed artificer. Because, artificers are DM's nightmare. So, Mondu, I think you should kind of just casually warn them if they drop said boat that they could risk breaking it. Honestly, I'm not really impressed with the new Artificer, but, I'm hoping they make tweaks. Lazarus, I'm willing to discuss it with you a little bit if you're open to it. But the thing is I really loved magical tinkering. I was super clever with it as a player, and it seems completely nuked now. And also, some of it is completely underthought, undercooked. What's the point of making a bedroll for an hour? It's just going to disappear in an hour. What's the point of that? That's not, I don't know. There's certain things that are, I don't know. Magical tinkering in its own was a really cool tool for artificers, and it just seems like they nuked it instead of adding to it and upgrading it, which they could have done with this new edition. Moving on to how infusions work now, I find them somewhat limiting and confusing, but at the same time, there are aspects that are, like, better. Is it? I'm really not impressed with the rest of the build. It does seem like it needs a lot of work and balance. A character... Okay, tell me how they can do this, Mondu. For a cat nap. Yeah, that's the thing. It definitely feels like there's less aspects to RP. And, like, I do feel like the infusion list was well thought out before, and it could have used some updates and stuff and changes, but the new one, it just seems kind of broken in parts. I'll have to look over the UA stuff again, because I didn't think it could get that OP. Honestly, I'm just content with 2014 rule set, because I am happy with that artificer. I mean, you could already do that right now, technically, in the RD. You could just make 2 bag of holdings and do, like, the, bag of holding in a bag of holding thing. I, in fact, have done that. I used my homunculus to deliver a bag of holding in a bag of holding, and yeah, it was fun. Big bada boom. Because you could just make 2 of your infusions bag of holding, and then... Because replicate magic item infusions can be repeated. You could do the same one over and over again if you wanted. That is interesting, because yeah, they should be referencing the PHB, but at the same time, it's like they just decided to leave it absent in this new book. Anyway, moving on from that. Oh man, we got about 10 minutes left, so if you all have any last minute questions, concerns, feedback, suggestions, please let me know before we wrap up so I can make sure I address them. Remember, as the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist, I'm definitely poised and aptly trained to answer your questions and concerns regarding Dungeon Alchemist. I'm not just somebody who is making maps or enjoying maps. I'm definitely a part of the team. So if you have any questions or concerns, feedback, suggestions, please let me know. You know, I agree and I disagree with that to a beat, because like wizards end up becoming like gods, you know, by the things they can cast at a certain point, right? And like artificers max out their spell list at what, L5? So they don't ever get up to those higher lists. They don't have as many spells, but they do get to make a few items off of a list. I think the UA one definitely breaks that a little bit, but the traditional infusion list was pretty balanced, in my opinion. I haven't shown it on the stream. I don't really have any videos demonstrating underground stuff because most of the times I went to film it in the past, my stuff would crash because it was being actively developed and like fixed and worked on. I think they've mostly got it worked out, so I'll start making. And it's like basically the team's been out of office for the last few weeks, and they're just rolling back in a few of them. So we'll be getting more updates to the beta build, or the dev build as we call it. So as shortly, there'll be lots of new content. Now that I'm back in the office and they're back in the office, it'll be a combo factor. Sooner than later, you'll be seeing a lot of teaser content. Oh, right. Like they don't get the expertise for any like tool that they can create. Huh. I could see why they did this. I feel like a lot of DMs have like a pushback like to firearms in their games. When at the end of the day, they're like stat blocks for what they do is pretty much the same as like crossbows or bows. They're just retooled, right? And which at the end of the day, you should be able to reskin or retool any weapon to be something else. Your player wants a katana. Okay, let's make a rapier, a katana or something. Is there? Oh, really? Wow. That is weird. It'll go downward. So it puts a section underground. So in my testing, Death Angel, my personal testing, I built it was like a 14, 15 story structure, okay? And it had like 5, 10 floor. It was like 5 to 7 floors up and 7, 8 floors down, right? And in the downward, I built it at the top of a hill. So it was like a tower at the top of a hill, and then there was underground sections of the tower, and then once it got far enough under the ground, I had like tendril hallways shooting off of the tower going into different areas, so it was like underground facility. So you can build off of that and change shape, and as long as there's room for it to build it, then yes. It doesn't even have to be the same shape all the way up and down. Stand by. Emotion detection. What is it? No idea. This looks like a car pulled around and looped. Yeah, no worries, Death Angel. I honestly need to take a closer look at the Artificer stuff because when I started looking at it, I just got disgusted with how like nerfed magical tinkering was. Like if you are creative and like clever, magical tinkering is one of the most powerful L1 abilities out there. It's essentially prestidigitation with permanence in some instances. You can use it for long-range communication. Interesting. So there's a distinction now. I always just assumed smoke powder was more like a powder that makes smoke, and gunpowder was the explosive one that makes, firearms work and bombs. cannons and stuff work. But yeah, that's cool. Excuse me, I'm gonna take a sip of water here. I really like this setup here with the guard tower and the gate. Looks like this harbor is like you got to be an expert captain to navigate this because there's like sunken ships all over. I can understand the aversion to firearms in campaigns, mainly because like in the real world, firearms are like a real big issue and cause, you know, a lot of hurt to people. And so some people want to avoid them in their magical setting. But at the same time, people that are like historically accurate don't like take into account that, say, guns actually in some cases predate some of the martial weapons on the martial weapon list. I mean, it's usually went without saying that a firearm was loud. Most tables I played at that allowed them, like they usually made a sound that emitted, say, 100 feet or so it could lure other people in. Or if you were underground or like in a cave, you could deafen yourself or your teammates. So like I ended up having to craft a silencer in my campaign. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, you know, this iteration of UA was just their first toss out, and we'll see. We'll probably get a lot of adjustments and balance with time. Usually UAs get like 3 or 4 variations before they, you know, finalize it. Fingers crossed. Honestly, I try not to apply it, but sometimes you got to, right? Especially with artificers. They like tend to bring a lot of engineering into the mix. Math wizards. Oh man, would you look at the time? Now it's time for So Long. So I'll just sing one more song. Thanks for doing your part. Sure damn smart. Honestly, I had a lot of fun hanging out with you all, showcasing maps and assets. Thank you everyone for participating in today's damn stream. Whether you were actively chatting or you were just kind of lurking in the background. I hope you all learned something today during the stream or saw something cool and interesting that you might want to add to your campaign. Few quick things I just want to discuss before we take off. We're back to our normal stream schedule now that I'm back in the office, which means all the streams are back on normal times, normal days. So Mapmaker Monday, office hours, damn stream, damn challenge, etc. Same damn time, same damn channel, they will be happening. Okay, so for those of you that are new, my mods are dropping schedules in the chat so you can take a look and partake in that. I highly recommend, if you're new to our community, to join on our Discord. Our Discord's kind of our biggest kind of centralization of our community members. Great place to hang out and meet like-minded DMs. Discuss ideas for your campaigns for like encounter, stat blocks, map ideas. You can share maps and assets and get live support from myself, other devs, community members, mods, etc. We have 2 channels dedicated to support. One just ask questions and one for like a little bit more difficult support inquiries. There's announcements and teasers and stuff dropped in our Discord pretty regularly. It's basically a great point of contact for us and great place to learn and essentially grow as a cartographer within our community. I highly recommend it for everyone. Bit of news, or I guess info. The Dam Challenge, which you've been seeing the marquee that away for the whole stream, is Celebration. What the Dam Challenge is it's a bi-weekly map-making contest we hold on our streams and primarily in our Discord. It allows you to kind of challenge yourself and put your map-making skills to the test, and try and make a map that you feel might win a prize. If you submit a map to the Dam Challenge, you have a chance to win a $10 Hero Forge gift card, recognition in our weekly newsletter, the Cartomancer Chronicles, and just a little bit of immortality as your map is just kind of showcased as the winning map for, roughly a half hour on the stream. So it's a fun way to compete against the community, but also yourself, challenge yourself to bring your map making to new heights. It's completely optional. You do not have to participate. The current theme is Celebration, so you use that as inspiration. You make a map of any shape or size using Celebration as your kind of thoughts and inspiration for the map. And then you submit that map to the Dam Challenge channel in our Discord. There's rules pinned at the top of the channel that you must follow with your submission in order to qualify. And as long as your map qualifies, we will showcase it on the Dam Challenge stream, which is the opposite Saturday of this one, so next Saturday. So there's about 6 days left to enter. In fact, your maps must be submitted by end of day on the 10th in your time zone, so 11:59 p.m. in your specific time zone. Make sure you submit the map to the Dam Challenge channel. That way your map is submitted in time for me to properly evaluate and judge it. Anyway, so if you're interested in participating in that, make sure you do so in the next 5 to 6 days. Moving on from that, our upcoming stream is Monday, Mapmaker Monday. I am building a map live for our community to watch and learn. The Mapmaker Monday stream, we've been building an ancient cemetery a little bit each week, roughly about a half hour to hour of work as we provide live support and feedback and or take notes on your feedback and answer your questions in AMA format during the Mapmaker Monday stream. But also you can watch mapmaking live and follow along so you can learn from a master mapmaker. At least I like to think I'm a master mapmaker. So, the map we're building right now is this giant cemetery complex, which I've dubbed Ancient Cemetery. It is 82 by 82, and it is starting to come together. There's quite a bit of work that's gone into this thus far, but there's quite a bit left to do. I've been working on this section here, which is essentially graves for, saints, past paladins and clerics and, clergy members, priests, etc. for this chapel here. And then there's this vast garden around the chapel, and this is where they would host and facilitate the various, services for funerals. And then there's going to be tons and tons of graves, fancy graves, medium, quality graves, and of course, pauper graves, which we will be adding in these areas over here. It's all coming together. Anyway, this will be worked on Monday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific. That's 12 p.m. Eastern, and I believe 5 p.m. UTC. So if you want to tune in and watch how this map turns out in real time and get support for your own map inquiries, make sure you join us on Monday. Otherwise, thank you everyone for being here. Appreciate you all so very, very much. Again, my name is Mac, the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. Dungeon Alchemist is a map-making utility available on Steam. It allows you to build maps in a snap for your fantasy settings, primarily for D&D or Pathfinder. We also have a demo that is free to try, allowing you to test drive Dungeon Alchemist before you buy it. Check us out on Steam if you're interested in that. Otherwise, I appreciate you all supporting the stream today, and hope to see you again soon. But until next time... Oh, shoot. I said it wrong. We'll see you next time I give a damn. Mac out. Bye. We're going to end with a quick ad and end the stream. Thank you for being here.
But can it handle curves?
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 Dungeon Alchemist, the AI-powered map-making application for role-playing games, now comes with both round and diagonal walls. Create amazing professional maps for your players in seconds. Get it now on the Steam store.